that what's important is to keep preparing and not panicking, even when the world outside is going berserk. Trying to talk about things they half understand and trying to see what they can do about things totally beyond their control. So when environment takes over is when the entrepreneurs are really put to test, because this is when your grit is tested, your passion is tested to keep learning and keep growing instead of wasting time in participating in that panic. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this tribe that believes in learning and growing forever, irrespective of what the environment is dealing with. I intend to spend the next 1 hour sharing a few things which has worked for me and my tribe when I've shared these things with them. And I hope that it's of some use to all of you as well. I intend to make this a little interactive session. So we are going to use the chat room to interact, and we will stay mute so that there's no chaos while the discussion is on. So I will keep encouraging you to give me your response in a certain way as we progress in this session. But please make sure you're active over there. Please make sure your videos are on. I want to see everybody. I want to see what you look like. And I would want you to put whatever I request you to put on the chat room as in how we progress. So just a little warm up on how this works. Can someone, or in fact, can everyone just quickly tell me where, which part of the country are you in right now? Just the name of the city. So I'm in Mumbai. I'm just typing Mumbai. Can you just type quickly in the chat room, where are you from? Pune. Abhishek is from Pune. Hi, Abhishek. Krishna, Mumbai. Naresh, Mumbai. Rakshit, Bangalore. Pune, Guwahati, Gujarat. Haryana, Bhubaneswar, Bangalore, Kolkata. Fantastic, fantastic. Trichy, Jalandhar, Delhi. Awesome, awesome. Fantastic. So I think we've covered the length and breadth of the country already. Ujjain. Wow. Vadodara. Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. This is exactly how it works. So I pose a question as we talk, and I would want you to put the answers here in the chat room. Let's stay connected. Let's stay engaged. If you have any question during the talk, please give me a show of hand in the chat room. Yeah, so you know how to do that. You can just say question, you can give me a show of hand. And whenever I can, I'll come to that and I'll give you an opportunity to pose your question, or we can also take it at the end of the session. So let's just go with the flow. So the intent is to talk about how we can make the most of these 21 days. You know, for the first time when I heard the Prime Minister say it's a curfew for 21 days, the first thought that came to my mind was cleansing. And that's because in the spiritual space, when you are initiated into any spiritual practice, you usually go through a 21 days of cleansing period. We call that as a cleansing period. Whether it is Reiki or it is any other form of spirituality, when you get initiated, you go through 21 days of cleansing period. And 21 is universally considered to be a very positive number. So it brings in some natural level of positivity as against all the negativity and the negative reasons for which it is posed on us. So I thought it will make sense for us to focus on cleansing our mind, body, and soul as we work from home and leverage on this cleansing period to be better at what we do. So we'll go through each element of this mind, body, and soul in a bit. But first I want to touch upon the important aspect of what connects us all, and that is our attitude of entrepreneurship. I would encourage you to make notes or write whatever realizations or things that are making sense to you as takeaways. So make sure you keep taking notes, keep writing down things which you want to remember, go through later. So I think that what is common in this tribe is that we are all working for ourselves. We are all entrepreneurs. And as entrepreneurs, we understand that entrepreneurship is not just a profession, but an attitude. It is an attitude to never give up. It is an attitude to take ownership, to be responsible, the ability to respond, be responsible towards what we do. And it's also the attitude of being proactive, being ahead of time, being prepared, bringing in a sense of curiosity. always looking at things around with that childlike curiosity to see what is it that I can learn, how is it that I can grow, what more can I do, what more can I learn. And that is what an entrepreneur really is. That is what entrepreneurship really means to me. It's not just about having your own setup or being your own boss, but it's about having the attitude to keep learning forever. If that makes sense to you, just type in the chat room, makes sense. Just say, makes sense. Make sense? Awesome. So with that attitude, let's dive into cleansing of mind, body, and soul. So let's start with mind. It's important that we understand our mind and our brain are two different things. Now, brain is an organ of our body. A mind is what we create in the brain using the thoughts and experiences that we go through in life. A mind has the ability to take over our brain because mind is a figment of our own imagination. It is our own creation. So people who are successful in their lives are not people who have more than 24 hours, are not people who are more resourceful than us or have more organs than we do. They are normal people like all of us, but they are people who've learned how to master their mind so that their brain functions to its fullest. So in a way, a mind can be your biggest enemy if you don't know how to master your mind and allow your mind to take over your brain. Now, let me share a very interesting fact about the brain so that we understand what potential we all already have. There are lots of thoughts around or facts floating around brain. So I did a lot of research to know what the truth is and break all the myths around brain and how it functions. So interestingly, what I have now established as a fact over basis all the research that I've done is that our brain cells continue to grow actively till the age of 25. And beyond 25, it continues to grow only if we create a learning environment. Now, when we create learning environment, the number of new cells start increasing. And because the size of the brain is now pretty much fixed, the old cells or cells which are unnecessary start dying. So it is survival of the fittest that happens in our head over here. Now, obviously, if we are not creating an environment which encourages us to learn, the new cells are not being produced as rapidly. So the old cells, because of the way they are biologically, starts fading, while there is no addition to the number of cells, new cells, because we are not actively engaging in any learning activity. And that is how important it is for us to keep learning. Now, a way to learn is to give direction to our learning. Now, learning happens all the time. The fact that at least once in our life we slip makes us learn that we need to have a better balance in our body. The fact that in our own house, sometimes we can hit the corners and edges makes us more aware of how to walk around in the house. All this is learning as well. But what I'm talking about is structured learning, which means having a certain plan for you to learn. The way I do that, and especially now when I have luxury of more time, since I save a lot of commuting time, the travel time that gets flushed out in normal working scenario, when you're sitting at home, even though the number of people at home has increased because everybody used to go to work and now all of us are sitting, it is still a situation where we have more time than otherwise if we know how to cut those distractions and focus on what we need to do. So to create that structured learning environment, we need to decide which part of the day works best for me to have minimum distraction and sit and learn, and split that time in two parts. So if that time for you is 1 hour, half an hour of that is when I want to do some self-learning, reading, listening to a podcast, listening to a blog. Maybe I want to write a blog, or I want to give a shot to maybe writing a book and I want to get started with that. And that's going to stimulate my brain to think more. That 30 minutes is my space to learn. And the second slot, the second part of this learning time is focused subject matter expertise. If I'm in the space of recruitment, What are the new things happening in other countries? What are the organizations doing? What are the best practices people are following? What are some success stories I can read? Or the learning center that Rashish has formed, can I dive into that and pick up a few resources from there and go through that? Now, what's important when we are learning is to be consistent with this practice. It doesn't work if you do it one day and then not do it for the next 2-3 days. This 1 hour of learning has to be the sacred me time, which I do not want to compromise with no matter what. If I have that level of motivation, is the only way I'll be able to create that consistency to keep learning, which then evolves my brain and makes me sharper and better at what I do. So if this is making sense to you, I want you to write, I will learn in the chat box. I will learn. Superb. Hero will learn, Rajiv will learn, Abhishek will learn, Anirban will learn, Priyanka will learn. Wow, it's coming so fast. I'm just struggling to get all the names right. Sheetal will learn, Indu will learn. I'm sure you all will. So we're learning to learn. Sometimes we need to take a pause and see how do we really need to learn. So this is a very structured format that can be followed to ensure there is some new learning happening in life every day. Thank you so much for your response. Let's move to 3 simple ways in which we can bring in more learning. So the first one, like I said, is bringing in new skills by taking this 1 hour, dividing it into 2 slots. First is self-learning, my reading, my podcast time, and second is subject matter expertise. The second thing to remember in the learning space is to stop multitasking. Now, as against our own belief that multitasking saves us time, I can do this and I can do that, I can cook and I can listen to a podcast, I can make my children study and I can write a blog. As much as we think that we could do this, what gets compromised in this scenario is the quality of learning that happens. The quality of learning when you're focused to do something is much different than the quality of learning when you're trying to balance 2-3 acts together. Now, your mind will tell you that you're able to do it and you can do it, but biologically, a human brain is not designed to do multitasking. I wish I could run you through an activity if you were all together in a room and had the luxury of more time to really prove to you that our mind actually is designed to focus on one thing at a time. So what helps us to focus on one thing at a time is the third point that I want to share in the learning space, and that is to bring in a new routine. Now, you see, people who used to go to office had a certain routine. They would get up, get ready, go to work, come back, unwind, have dinner, go to sleep. And it's pretty much, on autopilot, and your mind just gets used to this routine. You beyond a point, you stop putting your brains to it, and you pretty much just go with that flow every day. Even if we work from home, we have a certain routine. Now, we do the cooking and taking care of the families, bid them goodbye, and then we do whatever little cleanup is left, come back to work, get your work started, then start preparing for receiving everybody back home, and then you're busy with them, and that is also a routine. Now, what has changed with this current scenario of coronavirus and the curfew is that things are not the same anymore. People are around for much longer, in fact, throughout the day. The expectations that they have from you are different. Things that you were doing earlier are not happening on the same time. It's an absolute khichdi, an absolute chaos of what was set in our mind as an autopilot, on an autopilot mode. But that can also be a blessing in disguise, because this is when our brain is getting an opportunity to redesign and re-architect the environment. See, the environment cannot take over you till such time you allow that to happen. So when there is a change in the environment, it is an opportunity for our brain to create a new architecture, a new design, a new routine that fits in well and makes sense in this new environment. So I urge you to take some time off today, immediately after this call, and take a piece of paper and sit and just write how your day is starting right now. How do you want it to start? What are the activities that you want to start your day with? And how will it flow from one hour to the other till you retire at the end of the day? What is going to be your learning slot? What is going to be your work slot? What is going to be your TV slot? And in this, I encourage you to even plan your distractions. Instead of engaging in your distractions and addressing them as and when they hit you, you can proactively bake that into your plan. So the way I do that is to give 1 hour to myself after lunchtime to just hang around with my kids and see what they're doing and give them tasks for the next 2-3 hours so they're busy with something. And that's 1 hour of distraction I'm baking into my plan instead of getting carried away with it whenever it hits me. So a few tips I want to add here on productivity, other than being able to bake in your distraction, is to ensure that you are able to prioritize the tasks that are in front of you. So when you're making this routine, make sure you prioritize. You must have heard this a billion times, but trust me, we don't do it the way we know it. There are a lot of things we know, but there aren't so many of those things we actually really follow and practice. So prioritizing does not mean just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and numbering the tasks. It means being able to identify the top 3, which are the most important things to be done for the impact that it's going to create in the overall result. And of those 3, which is the top most number 1, my onesie, which if is done is going to keep my motivation here, because this is something that I really needed to do and I'm finally done with it. That's the first thing. And that's in the productivity space, I call that as, eating the frog. You eat the frog. You look at the thing which is most important, probably something you have been building resistance to do. It needs to be done, but you're just parking it aside, right? Do you have something like that in your list? If you do, then just say I do in the chat box, that I do have this one thing that I know I have to do, but some or the other procrastination takes over. I find a reason to do it later. Let me see how many of us can honestly just say, yes, I do. I have that task. I do. Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek, Anirban. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So we all do. We all do have a few such things which we know are important, but we've just parked it aside. That is the frog you need to eat. That is the task you need to do early in the morning when your energy level is really high, when your cognitive ability is to the highest level. Eat the frog and then get on with the rest of your to-do list. Very, very important point to increase your productivity. It will do phenomenally good to you if you could just follow this one point. Another thing that helps in being productive, especially when we are working from home, is to get up, dress up, and show up. Now, there is no reason for us to dress up very formally when we sit at home, but you will realize that if you're able to even dress up appropriately as how you would if you were to go to someone's house or office, and it doesn't have to be with a tie and a blazer. Nobody dresses up like that anyway anymore. If you are able to dodge your comfortable casuals, your shorts and pajamas, and dress up a little more formally, as if you're ready to receive anybody who comes from office suddenly, you will see much better focus, much more attention, and much higher productivity as a result of this effort. So try it out and see. And when you try out something, please don't try out for a day and say that kuch nahi hua, it didn't change much. I did exactly what I would have done in my pajamas. See if you can do that for a week. Dress up, take a shower early in the morning, have a cutoff that I need to start my day at 10 o'clock, 9:30, whatever that time is. And before that, I need to dress up just as how you would if you were to go to an office. Wear clothes that you would wear to an office and sit in front of your laptop and work. Do this for a week and then tell me if it improves your focus or not. I can guarantee you that it will. It brings in another level of seriousness and focus to work when we get up, dress up, and show up. So let's see if we can dress up, if we can eat the frog early in the morning, if we can bake in the distractions, and if we can organize our workspace and organize our routine. Now, that is what we need to do in the space of mind. For cleansing your mind, we need to make sure that we are keeping our mind busy with learning. If this makes sense to you, I want you to say makes sense. Let's say makes sense, please. Makes sense in the chat room. Thank you, Hirul. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Sapna. So I hope you have some takeaways from the mind space. And before we get on to body and soul, I want to highlight the fact that as entrepreneurs, our topmost priority is our own self. Self-care for an entrepreneur is far more important than it is for anybody else, because we are our own enterprise and we are in the middle of it all. Whether we are a 2-person company or a 2,000-person company, you are in the middle of everything. So your mind matters the most, your body matters, and your soul matters. All of this is important for our overall success. So please, let's not underestimate any part of it to say, what is this to do with work? Everything that happens to our body mentally affects our body physically. Everything that happens to us physically affects us mentally. It is beautifully connected, and let's keep that balance and beauty going by respecting each element of our existence. So while mind is very important, and I'm sure we've understood how to do more justice to mind and create learning environment, let's see what we can do for our body. Now, I want to really emphasize on 3 things which are extremely important for cleansing our body. The first thing, and of course, this is over and above the hygiene levels and a much higher level of hygiene levels we need to maintain, courtesy the virus floating in the air. But the first thing that I want to highlight in cleansing our body is the importance of having water. Since 72% of the world is water, since 70% of our body is water, it's important that we keep drinking a lot of water. Most of our brain is composed of water. In fact, our brain, in fact, swims in that space all the time. Most of it is blood, but water adds a lot more energy to our body and adds much more oxygen to our body that keeps our body more alert. And so it's important for us to frequently keep drinking water. So that's one thing that we need to consciously increase. Increase your intake of water by 1 liter. Whatever it is right now, increase it by 1 and see what it does for you. The second most important thing is to get some sunlight. I know we're in a curfew situation and we can't be out on the road, but if we have the luxury of balconies, if we have the luxury of peeking out of the window, if we can probably take a stroll in a gated society without touching anything or anyone, getting some sunlight keeps our mind alert, keeps our brain active, keeps us going for longer. It's a great way to cleanse your body and mind. And the third most important thing is exercise. Exercising is not about getting a 0 figure or 6 abs or 8 abs or whatever that number is, but exercising is about being able to secrete the hormones, which creates more positivity and happiness in our body. So that exercise could be something that you terribly, genuinely enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be the way you understand exercise to be. So for example, dancing for half an hour with my kids is a good form of exercise for me. I love doing that in the morning. We just put some music and we just dance. And that's exercise, right? For somebody, it could be yoga. For somebody, it could be just gentle stretches in the morning. So whatever that form of exercise is that works for you, please ensure that you bake in half an hour of that time for yourself. You deserve it, you need it, and it'll do much more to you than anything else that you would do in the rest of the day. So bring in that 30 minutes of exercise, bring in a little sunlight, and bring in a lot more water. If that makes sense to you, then I want you to say water, sun, exercise. Let's see how fast we can write that. Water, sun, exercise. Superb, superb. Thank you. Thank you. Let's ensure we do this and we create more cleansing, use this 21 days period to cleanse our mind and body. And now we come to soul, the center of it all. So soul is closely related to spirituality. And for me, spirituality means the reality of spirit. Spirituality is not religion, but the only reality of our existence. Different people understand spirituality in different ways. So I do not want to advocate one over the other. We all know what works for us. It could be chants for somebody, it could be praying for somebody else. But here are the three things which are agnostic of our overall belief and understanding of spirituality and still works to cleanse our soul, the center of everything that we do. So the first thing is, you've heard this a million times, maybe some of you do this, but meditation works better than anything else. Meditation is when we connect our mind with our soul. Meditation is when we are able to accept our mind with all the crazy thoughts going on over there and not try and fight those thoughts, but in fact just view those thoughts as clouds passing by in front of us. So see if you can create some nice clean place in your house where you feel positive, where you feel more energy, and use that corner to sit every morning or before you retire at night to meditate for around 15 minutes peacefully. You can use music, you can use guided meditation, you can just sit quietly and focus on your breathing. And that in itself is meditation. I just want to highlight one myth around meditation, which says that, you know, you're meditating if you're not thinking about anything. But I think as humans, we don't have that ability to get rid of thoughts. So it might never happen. And that's perfectly fine. But as long as we don't get attached to every thought and allow that thought to take away the present moment, it's absolutely fine to look at that thought and then just see it pass by and let another thought come and let that pass by too. This entire process in itself is meditation. So I encourage you to take that time out from your life and invest in meditating. The second thing that really helps us to cleanse our soul is praying. When we pray, we bring in the attitude of gratitude. And we don't have to necessarily pray in front of a deity. We can pray to the space around us. We can pray to anything that you see or close your eyes and imagine. But praying is an act of bringing in gratitude. The fact that there are people outside who are losing jobs or losing their salaries for some time, and we still have something to do, even though things are slowing down, we do have something to hold on to, in itself brings in a lot of gratitude to me. The fact that we have an opportunity to talk to each other and exchange some knowledge and information brings in a lot of gratitude for me. There are a million reasons why we should feel gratitude, and I'm sure you all do. But consciously bringing that in that 5 minutes of praying is what helps us to cleanse our soul and reconnect with ourselves. You know, when we are entrepreneurs, it's really important for us to keep cleansing this engine. And this engine is our soul. The engine is our mind. The engine is our body. What we keep doing with this and how we keep cleansing us through these different small acts we know of, but we haven't necessarily practiced, is what keeps the engine in a good condition for a long time. So let's bring in more meditation and let's bring in more praying in the form that you like, in the form that resonates with you. And lastly, let's see if we can bring in a conscious exercise of creating a journal. I am a strong believer of writing stuff down, because scientifically it is also proven that we retain 47% better when we write things. We connect with our own thoughts much better when we write them down. So I encourage you to see if you would like to create a journal where you would want to write down 3 things that brought in a lot of joy to you, or a lot of happiness to you at the end of the day, or 3 things that you are absolutely grateful about today. So before retiring, I have this practice for now over 6 years to write down at least 3 things that brings me joy. And sometimes, you know, before we sleep, I discuss this with my kids, and we all kind of share with each other what was the best part of your day, what brought you joy today. And that conversation is, for me, one conversation I look forward to the entire day. And that keeps us grounded, and that keeps us connected with all that we're blessed with. So these are the 3 things that I wanted to share as practices which have worked for me, for my community, my tribe, people who are a part of my company, our followers, our clients. I think there isn't anyone I know who I wouldn't have shared this with, and there isn't anyone I know who's not benefited from it if they've practiced it. The trick, however, is to do it for 21 days continuously. We also need this much time to build anything as a habit. So while any of this might probably be known to you, if there is something new that you're going to pick from this list to add on to what you already do, make sure you do this continuously for at least 21 days from now. So if we've understood and connected with how to cleanse our soul, I would want you to write meditate, pray, journal. I will meditate, pray, and create a journal or a joy list. Super, super. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great, great. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. So at this point, I just want to take a little break and see any raise of hands for any questions or thoughts that you may want to share before we go on. Yes. Superb. Sunil will say, I will pray, meditate, and write a journal. Awesome. Thank you, Sunil. Amit, thank you. Meeta, Indu. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. So any questions from anyone, you could also unmute yourself and ask.
So if there are any questions, just unmute yourself, just say who you are and, ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, Yukti. This is Naresh from Mumbai. I'm yet to join the
Yeah,
gang.
this is Sunil here.
Hi, Sunil. I'll just come to you in a bit. Yes, Naresh. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sunil, I'll just come to you in a bit. Let's hear it from Naresh.
Yeah, I think first is a very, very nice session. Thank you so much. Really very useful. I thought of just adding one word, to these three: meditate, pray, and journal is charity. I think which sometimes, really gives us a great feeling of joy, and it is something, really helps our soul. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's beautifully said. Very, very well said. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Sunil.
Can I go ahead, Yukti?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Is it true that a person usually has about 70,000 thoughts in a day?
Maybe more. Yes.
Yeah. As per research.
Yes. It's an insanely high number. And I think one thought that we need to reduce from this number is the fact that thoughts are bad, that we have to get rid of thoughts. I think till such time...
It's difficult to control it, right?
Yes. But in my experience, what has really helped me to do that is meditation. So when you are meditating, the first few days, if it's new to me, in the first few days, I felt like nothing was happening. In fact, I felt like this was just a tick in the box, because I was not even meditating. I was thinking about what happened a while back or what I'm just about to do next. But I continued with that practice, and I just kept doing it still. Even though I didn't feel like it is done, I did it the way it is supposed to be done. But that whole process of being consistent with it slowly starts improving your practice as well. So if you keep doing this for a longer time, you will realize that slowly over a period of time, you're able to start detaching. You're able to detach yourself from the emotions that come with the thought. So thought alone is not a problem. The problem is the emotions that it brings with it. Right? So if there is a thought of what will happen to my business, it's going really slow in today's time, and the emotion with it is worry or fear, then that emotion is taking me away from the present moment. The thought in itself is okay, yeah, so slow down, things are slow, it's not the same, I'm uncertain about what's to come next. All right, now the thought is gone and now there's another thought in front of me. So this, it takes time, like anything else. Like when we learn how to write as kids, we don't get it immediately, right? It takes time and practice for us to really get into the practice, and then we do it mindlessly. We don't need to apply ourselves to writing. Meditation works exactly the same way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Yeah,
Hey,
hi Yukti.
Yukti.
This is
Uh,
Abhishek from Pune.
Hi, Abhishek.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, my video is not working for some reason, so pardon me for that.
No problem.
Yukti, I want to ask you something. During the course of the day, wherein we have a lot of things planned, and we feel almost all of the things are have the same or equal importance. So most of the times I end up overthinking on the stuff and not able to decide as to which thing should take priority over the other, because I feel everything is important at that point in time. So how to control the thoughts and mind during this phase or during that particular time?
Right. Thank you. I think that's a brilliant question, Abhishek, because that is the biggest challenge when we are trying to prioritize. You know, we feel that everything is important. How do I choose one over the other? So when we have a list of things we need to do, the first thing that we must do is write them all as a laundry list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 20, 40, whatever is that number of tasks. We write that down. Once we've done that, we're able to shortlist to the extent of top 5 or top 7, sometimes even top 3. And amongst those, sometimes there are criterias which help us understand which one to pick over the other. For example, the urgency, how close are we to the delivery, or what is the impact in terms of revenue. Some tasks are, like they say 80-20 rule. 20% of what
Mm-hmm.
we do adds 80%
Yeah.
value, right? So rest 80% of what we do is only adding 20% value, and we are the best people to know what value we're going to get from every effort. We know it.
Yes.
It is just that we have the tendency of taking the route of least resistance, whatever is the easiest for us to do. You know, there are a few things where I know I need to apply myself a little more. Maybe I need to stretch myself a little and do something that I don't terribly enjoy doing, and I procrastinate on those things. But a large part of me knows what is that 20% in my list which is going to have 80% of the impact on the
Mm.
overall result. So if you're able to think by keeping the end in mind and work in reverse order, it's a great way to learn how to prioritize. So keeping the end in mind helps us understand the impact every activity that I'm going to do today will have on the overall objective, the final result that I'm aiming at. So if the impact is larger, for me, that's the first thing to do.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if
Yes.
despite this, Abhishek, there is still no answer, then you randomly pick one over the other and get started. The whole idea is to action and not stay in motion. So a lot of us get confused between motion and action. We believe that if you're doing something, it is productive, not
Yeah.
necessarily. So for example, if I'm going through 20 recipes, I haven't
Mhm.
yet cooked the meal. I'm still going through recipes. I'm in motion, but
Okay.
I have not put that into action. The action would be to cook. The
Yes.
motion is to go through recipes, right?
Yes. Yes.
If I want to write a blog, I can write 20 topics that I want to write on. That is motion. So my mind tells me you're busy, you're
Mhm.
working on it, right? Because I'm preparing.
Yes.
Preparing for anything is motion, but doing that is action. So
Yes.
which
Agree.
one to do, which task to pick, this is motion.
Mm-hmm.
You can include this in your work time. In your mind will include this in your work time. I'm thinking about work, right? So this is my work time. But it's not, because you are only in motion. There is no action. Action is to pick one and get started with it. Run with that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
hope this
Yukti.
helps.
That is
Thank you.
helpful. Yes, that is helpful.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey, Yukti, this is Anirban from Kolkata.
Hi, Anirban.
The point is, since we being an entrepreneurs, we come across stress and we come across anxiety, uh, say related to failures, related to deadlines not being met, uh, say financial burdens that arise from the failures. Now, how do we go about coping? I mean, how do we reduce? I mean, this impacts the work that we do. So given that fact, how do we go about reducing those anxiety and stress related to the anxiety?
Right. Thank you for asking that question. I think that's a very valid question, especially in these times when there is too much noise uh, and too much negativity around. Um, in fact, I think for me, the rule in the house is that we will listen to news only for 15 minutes in the day, and that's normally in the afternoon, to only catch up with what's going on and not continuously stay hooked to what's happening. Every interview, every conversation, every debate, it only adds more and more stress and anxiety to what already exists, right? So uh, taking information and getting carried away with the negativity of it are two very different things. So it is closely related to how we manage stress in life, Anirban. The best way to look at stress is to literally look at it on a piece of paper. So take a nice big piece of paper and write down what you're stressed about, and just have a look
Okay.
at it. Right? Just have a look at it in a detached way. I mean, I'm looking at something as if I'm looking at an object. So all right, financial stress. Okay, what does this really mean to me? So I'm going to write down, what does this mean to me? What does financial stress mean to me? For somebody, financial stress would be, sub 5 lakhs in my account. For somebody, it would be sub 5,000 in my account. Different people have different understanding of every comfort that we enjoy. What's comfortable for me could be far from it for somebody else. So what does financial stress mean to me? Let me put that down. And then see if you can, in a very relaxed state of mind, consciously relaxed state of mind, go through a 5 why process. So why is this bothering me? Because this will happen. And why is that bothering me? Because this will happen. And then why is this bothering me? So just go through a series of 5 whys, Anirban,
Okay.
and see what does it really bring you down to. What is the crux of that stress? What is the real reason of worry?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I want you to do this. If you can see my notebook here, you make
Yeah.
one circle here.
Okay.
Okay, like this. It's not a circle. Assume
Right.
it's a circle. It looks like a
Right.
circle. And then make a smaller circle here.
Okay.
Okay. So when you do these, make these 2 circles, I want you to write down here I. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And this is C. So the bigger circle is
Okay.
C, the circle of concern, and the inner
Okay.
circle is I, the circle of influence.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the circle of concern is everything that bothers me, right? So,
Right.
for example, uh, is my neighbor sanitized or infected? I don't know. They just came back from some place outside the city. I don't know if they're safe or not. This housekeeping staff comes in, takes garbage. I don't know if their hands are clean or not. I don't know whether my maids will show up or not. I don't know if I should allow my maids in or they're safe or not. I have so many questions that I cannot answer, but I'm concerned about it because it might impact me. It might affect me. All
Very
these
true.
things are in your circle of concern, the bigger circle,
Okay.
right? This one. And then there is a smaller circle, which is the circle of influence, which is the circle within which I have full control. I have control over washing my hands. I
Right.
have control over thinking creatively for new business ideas. I have control over learning and getting better equipped to understand technology and online platform. I have control
Right.
over doing the business I do in a different way today because the environment is different. My learning is in my circle of influence. My working upon something and taking action is in my circle of influence. Anything that I have no control over doing myself is in my circle of concern,
Very true.
right? So the peace lies when you are aware of being in the circle of influence and slowly uh, expanding the circle of influence and worrying less about the circle of concern. So I can't do much about what others are supposed to do or not do. I can definitely have better control over what I can do and cannot do.
Right.
Right. So when you go through that 5 why process and you come down to what really is bothering you and what really is creating that anxiety or stress. See if it is within your circle of influence. If within your circle of influence there is anything that you can do to improve that part of it. If the answer
Right.
is yes, then you know exactly what you can do. And it might not transform tomorrow. It might not all be okay suddenly, but you will have a clear list of action points that you can take to start working upon it. And if it is outside your circle of influence, you need to realize that it's only a concern. I have no influence over it.
It's very well
Hello.
said. I mean, that actually, I mean, broadens up your thought process and helps you kind of narrow down what you can do and what you cannot do, and stop bothering or reduce the botherations for the things that are beyond your control, beyond your purview. It's
Absolutely.
a very well way of looking at it. Thank you so very much, Yukti.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuma. Thank you for asking.
Hi, Yukti. Am I audible to you?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, hi. So this is Akanksha, and thank you so much for the wonderful session. It was definitely much needed. We all took a break from families and talking to you.
I'm
So
so
thank
glad.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my question to you is that you were talking about stop multitasking, right?
Yes.
And when we talk about multitasking, the first thing comes to your mind is a woman. So as
Sorry,
a
is what?
housemaid, as a woman, right? So when we talk about multitasking, the
Right,
first thing comes into my mind is me,
right.
like a woman, a lady, right? So the problem is when you work, you have a lot of other things also to manage. So my thing is that when I'm so when my husband was working, I used to tell him that you should keep your work out of the house. You should not bring it to the dining table, and you should not bring it to home. And he used to be like, oh, that doesn't happen. But now, since I have again started working after a long break, I truly realized it that it really, doing multitasking. When I'm in office, I'm talking to my son sometime, I'm managing if my maid has turned up or not, if the things at home are going smooth. When I'm at home, some days working from home, then I try to manage office as well. So how can we segregate these two things, that my work should not disturb my personal life, and my personal life should not get hampered because of my work, and my work as well should not get hampered because of my personal life, right? I hope I'm
Hmm.
making any sense.
Yes,
So
yes.
that really happens when I sometimes feel that I should focus more at my work, or thoda ghar ko I should neglect. When I am at home, then I feel that when my work is, I am avoiding it or not, if I'm doing justice to both the parts or not. So how can we really segregate these two things, and how can we stop overthinking about it? That really, sometimes it takes a toll on you.
Yes, yes. That's a brilliant question and something that we all have struggled with. Some of us have
Yes,
cracked it, some of us are still struggling with it. So,
I
uh,
am
my,
still.
my answer to your question is 3C answer. Okay, there are 3 C's
Okay.
to follow to crack work life balance, especially when you're working from home. The first important thing to remember, Akanksha, is to bring in clarity, right? Clarity about what I need to do today, clarity about the fact that what I do is important for me. I have a very good reason to do this. I work and I have a good reason behind that effort I put, right? I love what I do, or I'm learning from it, or I'm growing because of it, or it brings food to the table. Whatever is the reason for me to do what I do, I need to have absolute crystal clear clarity on that, on my purpose, on why I do what I do, and clarity to the extent of even the tasks that are lined up for me to be done today. Like I am a huge follower of a planner. My If I don't have this black book, I cannot function. This, I'm a handicap without this, right? So I write down everything that I need to do every single day with time and everything, right? All details. And when it's when something is written in this planner, it has to be done. That brings me to
Okay.
the second C, the commitment that you need to have towards everything you've planned to do. If I respect my time, I have realized everybody around starts respecting my time too.
True.
If I say, so I've got kids, they're just 8 years old. They're hanging around outside this house. I'm working from home, obviously. But if I've told them that I'm going to be on a call for an hour and a half and I cannot be bothered, and in between I take a break and go make a cup of tea for myself, or I just want to listen to some music in between, then they keep peeking, they see that I'm watching some video or listening to music, they will not take me seriously the next time I make such a
True.
request, right? So if
Very true.
I have committed to my plan, and if I'm saying I'm going to be busy from this time to this time, I should be able to stick to that commitment myself first, and then expect others to respect that, right? So that's the second C. And the third C is communication. Being able to clearly communicate the expectations you have from people and people should have from you makes life very easy, Akanksha. Most of the times we fail here. We fail to communicate. We are running around and stretching ourselves when it's not needed. Communication also includes asking for support. Right? I'm going to take a little longer to finish this. Can you please handle that task? Or could you please not disturb me while I'm doing this from this time to this time? All of this is communicating, setting the expectations right. So that whenever you are doing anything, you are 100% with it. Even if I'm cooking a meal for my family, I want to just enjoy the process of cooking for them. I don't want to be thinking about work or make a business call in that time. I am cooking for my family, and this is important for me. And I want to do just this in this moment. And that comes when we are able to take support from people, because there is always more to do than we are able to do. And that's because we assume as women that we only have to do everything.
That's the problem.
Yeah, right. So
Yes.
I was very pleasantly surprised when I tested that and I started asking for support from my family, my husband, and other people in the house. And I wanted them to partner with me, and they did. And I realized that I wasn't even asking for it. It's almost like if I'm doing something, I'm asking for their help to do something else. Can you help me lay the table? Can you help me take care of them for half an hour? The moment I use that language, I am saying that by default मेरा काम है, मुझसे नहीं हो रहा है, तो आप
Can
मेरी
you
help
do
कर
it?
दो,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you will also very generously help, but you will help once in a while.
True.
Because in your mind, it is not your job anyway. It is
Your
not your
job to do.
responsibility. Because my language is such. My language is not letting you get included as a partner in the house. I'm inviting you as a guest. That can you please come and help me today? So see if we can kind of create that environment of inclusion. Everyone has a role to play in my family, Akanksha, including my kids. They have chores to do, and these are time bound chores. They need to. They can't take one full day to do it. Something needs to be done in the morning is done in the morning, and it's a two-way communication. We agree on a few things we need to do together because we agree this is everyone's responsibility.
Yes.
So if we are clear about what we want to do, if we show our own commitment towards that clarity, and if we are able to communicate to people what we intend to do and ask for their support, I think there is a possibility of a much better work-life balance.
And a peaceful mind as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
most importantly.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
pleasure.
of course. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Are there any more questions?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Yukti. This side Amit from Delhi.
Hi, Amit.
My question is कि a few months ago I was a salaried person
Okay.
and right now I am doing my business from recruitment. So my question is how to eliminate a business stress and how to enjoy a business.
How to eliminate what you said, sorry?
Business stress.
Stress. Okay.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little more on this question? So when you say business stress, what does that mean to you?
So like business stress, like it's a office rent, there's a salary of working recruitment. So there is a lots of stress.
Okay. Uh, that's a very good question because the environment that we have and the mindset that we have when we work for somebody and we work for ourselves is very different. And I've experienced both the worlds. I was working with the bank before I became an entrepreneur, and I know what
Yeah.
it means to have a fixed salary coming every month and nothing to
Yeah.
worry. Even if you're a terrible performer, you will get the salary. And then when you come
Yeah.
into a business environment, you start from the scratch, and it's what you earn is a function of what you do.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what really gets me excited about being an entrepreneur, Amit, is the fact that there is no limit to what I can earn and what I can do.
Okay.
Right. A shopkeeper is also a businessman, an industrialist is also a businessman,
Yeah.
and they both have 24 hours only. Even if I'm the richest person on earth, I don't have more time than anybody else. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So what really matters and what makes one different from the other is uh, what value are you able to create using your skills and your time. Right. Money is a function of value. If I
Yes.
give value, somebody will be ready to pay some money for it. If the value increases, the price for it goes up.
Okay.
Right. So if I work with the mindset in my business to see how can I add value to somebody's life, I will not feel the stress of business that you mentioned a while back. I will
Okay.
probably find more motivation and ideas to do more.
Okay.
You with me? So
Yes.
it is also a function of what you do with those 24 hours. So how you manage your time, how clear are you about having a routine, how committed
Okay.
are you about following that routine, and how much more value are you consciously providing to your people, to your clients, is going to decide how big your business outfit is going to grow, which is a flexibility you have only as an entrepreneur. We can never get this flexibility in a job because a job has very defined boundaries. You're supposed to do one
Yes.
task, and
Yes.
you can at best do that task better than five other people around, and that's it. And if you
Okay.
are a rock star in that organization, then also by the end of the year you will get 10% increment or maybe 15% in
Increment.
some
Yes.
organizations. Correct. That is the
Yes.
ceiling, the glass ceiling that you have.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, there is no ceiling, there is nothing stopping you, there is no limit. I have an offline business which is into training and coaching. We do workshops and personal coaching
Hmm.
sessions. And now we are sitting at home. So I am designing online courses to reach out to even more people and looking at this as a blessing in disguise, as an opportunity to do more and create more things, right?
Okay.
Because I have the flexibility to do that as an entrepreneur. So the only question I ask myself, since I'm in the space of business, is how am I adding value? Is my product, my service, the time that I'm spending adding any value to people? If the answer is yes, then my next question is how can I add more value?
All
And
right.
if you stick to that thought, you will realize that there will not be so much of a reason to worry and feel stressed. There will, in fact, be a lot more excitement to create, come up with new ideas and new ways of doing things.
Hmm.
Does it make sense, Amit?
Yes, ma'am. Makes sense.
Hi, this is Vayu here.
Vayu?
Yeah.
Hi, tell me.
Okay. So I had a query in regards with, as we are entrepreneurs, we do have to set some priority goals before we start the month. So this includes individual goals as well as some team goals as well. Uh, so I would like to just know, because sometimes it does happen that we set up with the goals which are incorrect, or which are not to the thing that we need to set up in the right way. So first, anything you can tell ki what is the right methodology to set up the right goal for the individual part as an entire team as well. And number two, it happens n number of times whatever goals we set up are not achieved on every month. So in track to have a working process so that we can track it out on a proper way that yes, this goal is been achieved. What is the method or we can implement out to achieve that? So
Okay. So if I hear you right, Vayu, what you're saying is there are some personal goals and there are team goals. What is the way to know whether the goals that we are setting is right or not, and
Yes.
how to ensure that we are able to achieve those goals? Have I got
Yes.
it right?
Yeah.
Okay. So goal is goals can be very tricky because our mind has a capacity to believe that we are doing a lot more than we actually do if you're not tracking what we do. Only when we track what we do we realize that the extent of progress that we are making on those goals, right? So the first thing that we need to do is get into the habit of writing things down. It could be on a laptop, it could be on a piece of paper, but the goals have to be in front of you all the time. You need to wake up every morning looking at those goals. Now, I'm sure you've
Okay.
heard of SMART goals. Have you heard of SMART goals, SMART?
No, no, no.
Okay, so when you're able to use this formula of SMART goals, it ensures that there is no scope of goals going wrong. So, first of all, goals are your own goals. You set them and you decide their importance. So, there's no question of it going wrong. But when you use the smart way of designing goals, it ensures that you're able to achieve those goals every month. Yeah. So, SMART is an acronym where S stands for keeping it specific, right? So I want you to write specific. Everybody who's even aware of SMART goals or is listening to this for the first time, be with me in the chat room and please write specific, because that's what S stands for in SMART goals. Specific, right? So it's about being specific about the goals. I want to lose weight is not a specific goal. I want to lose 5 kgs in the next 2 months is a specific goal. So a specific goal will always have numbers. It will always have a lot more clarity and bring it down to an action level and not an intention level. A goal can be an intention. I want to lose weight is an intention. I want to lose 5 kgs in the next 2 months is an action that I need to take. So we need to be specific. M of SMART stands for measurable. Let's write measurable in the chat room. Measurable. I should be able to measure the goal. So when I say 5 kgs in 2 months, I know I can measure it. I can keep measuring my weight every 15 days to see how much I'm losing, how close am I to my goal of losing 5 kgs in 2 months. So it has to be specific and measurable. A stands for achievable, right? It should be achievable. So let's write achievable in the chat room. I would want to probably lose 20 kgs if I have to, but I know that it's not achievable in the next 2 months. If I push myself hard to do that, I will be using some unhealthy practices. So there's no point doing that. Can I have an achievable goal? I know that 2 kgs or 5 kgs in the next 2 months is not going to be a challenge. I'll stick to something that I know I can achieve. It might look difficult, but I can achieve it. R in SMART stands for realistic and sometimes even relevant. So I want you to write down realistic goal or relevant goal. So realistic or relevant means that it should make sense to me. It should be important for me. It should be within my circle of influence. If it is going to be related to something that will require someone else's involvement and I'm dependent on someone else, I don't have full control over achieving this goal. It's very, very important that my goal is defined in a way that it is realistic and relevant for me. It is within my circle of influence, within my control. And T stands for timeline. It needs to have clear timeline. Yes, Abhishek, time bound. Absolutely, timeline. I need to know exactly when am I achieving this goal. So I have to lose 5 kgs in the next 2 months, which means I know I'm sitting in March. It has to be April and May. By mid-May, I should be losing 5 kgs. There are clear timelines by when I need to do this. So for example, I need to meditate for 15 minutes every day. Is that a time-bound goal by you?
Yeah.
I would say no. I would challenge that. I would say 15 minutes in a day is not time bound. It is specific, but it will become time bound if I say that I will meditate from 7 to 7:15 every morning. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that is the extent to which we can create timelines and make it more specific. So if our goal is specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable, realistic, and time bound, then you will see that you are able to achieve your goals the way you've designed and planned them to be.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Helps? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think maybe you can just take one last question. We're out of time. Okay, I don't hear from anyone, so that's perfectly fine. Thank you. So yes.
Yeah, Hiral here from Pune. My question is like, many of the times, despite giving a proper service to my client also, the client is like so aggressive, so always angry. I don't understand how to handle. I try to keep a patience level. I try to keep myself calm, but at certain limits you get aggravated and you tell someone or two words due to which sometimes some things get wrong. So I just want to know how to control that.
Okay, can you give me one example or any hypothetical situation where such a scenario might happen?
Yes, the situation was like, they had three things. They don't want a Muslim candidate in the company, and the second thing, like, we kept on sending the candidates and candidates were up to the mark, but as on when we were sending the candidates, their criteria were changing.
Okay.
Yeah, so on such time they get so angry on us and they send a mail stating that we are not up to the mark and all this, but we are up to the mark. We are doing everything up to our level, our best, but still your criteria is changing. Despite telling politely also, they get so angry, they are so rude. So how to handle that situation?
Okay. Thank you for asking that question, Hirul. I think largely any client servicing role is dependent upon our communication, which has two aspects over here. One is how clear are we, and two is how assertive are we. So clarity comes if we have documented things and if we are structured in our own approach. So for example, if a client is asking for some specific requirements, I would immediately send out a communication confirming my understanding that this is our discussion. Thank you for sharing your brief. I understand you're looking for someone who is A, B, C, these three criteria, right? And then I start my work basis that brief. If that brief is questioned or changed later, I have something to go back to, which was already confirmed by the client as their brief for me. You with me?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I'm able to put that down in a structured way from before I even start putting my effort in it, it gives me something to fall back to if there are questions raised on the quality of the output. But if it's only a conversation between us, then things will always fall between the gaps. Like you have said something and I might have understood something else, and that is the biggest problem with language. And this is a limitation that any language has. We are not always able to communicate our emotions using language. So it's best to see how we can bring in a structure in the entire process instead of letting it be only a verbal understanding. So that's what I mean by clarity. And the second thing, if we do this, is to bring in assertiveness when need be. Now, assertiveness does not mean uh, showing your power or putting your foot down. Assertiveness means calmly being able to present the as is situation. And that calmness comes when I detach my emotions with my job. The client is not angry with Hirul. The client is angry with a person who has fallen short of what was expected. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah. So the moment I take that personally and I feel like you're attacking me, I get defensive and I lose my temper. Because I think you're attacking me, but you're not attacking me. You're attacking somebody who's supposed to deliver something up to your expectations and it is not matching your expectations. Are you with me?
Yes.
So when I get that very clear in my mind that the shouting and this unpleasant situation is not a personal attack on me, is when I'm able to address it more professionally and more wisely. Because now I'm not emotionally drained. I'm not allowing myself to get drained in this episode, right? I'm keeping myself out, and it is Hiral, the HR person, who was dealing with a dissatisfied client. And at this point, if I have a document to fall back on, which is, the clarity document that we created when you gave me the brief, it's a fantastic time to pull that out and say, sir, as per our understanding, these are the 3 things. This is what we've done. Please let us know what more can be done and what have we missed. Would love to know, or would love to explore. Right? But if we don't have anything in writing, or if we don't have any clarity established in that manner, and we are taking every comment very personally, then it will only, by the end of the day, make us feel like, why are we even doing this? Like, I don't deserve this. I don't need to go through so much stress in my life. But is there any job where there is no stress? There isn't. Or let's turn it around and say that in no job can there be stress, for as long as you decide not to take stress.
Got it.
Make
Thank
sense?
you. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think that's all the time we have. I'm really happy to take on a lot of questions that you all asked, and I think all the questions were very relevant and great questions. I just want to conclude this by saying that any successful career that we choose to have, or any successful business that we choose to do, is never a function of the money we make or incentives or promotions that we get. It is always a function of being able to be a master at what we do. Mastery for me defines success and nothing else. And for us to master, we need to stay as lifelong learners. So thank you so much. Please keep learning and ensure that you stay on with this practice of cleansing your mind, body, and soul for the next 21 days. I hand it over to you, Rashish.
Thank you, Yukti. Thank you so much for this particular session. I'm sure there's been a lot of learning. I've actually attended at least 4 to 5 sessions of yours, but each time I listen to you, there's a lot more that comes from it. I have a small request. Yukti, just put in your email ID in the chat box, so that those who have any feedback to give you, if they want to reach out to you, they can reach out to you. And thank you so much for spending time with us. This is a brilliant time to learn, and I'm sure the team will get benefited out of it. Thank you. There are 92 participants. Yukti touched 100 at some point of time. I received a lot of calls asking to connect, but 100 was the top limit. But I really appreciate you spending time and briefing the team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you. I've shared my email address and I'll send it to you separately as well, Rashish.
Yukti, you need to put it as a message to all. I think you sent it to me privately. Just put a message to all, so that everybody has it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Does it show now?
Yeah. Yes, it's there. Perfect.
Great. I would love to get some feedback from you all. Please feel free to write to me and let me know what were your takeaways and what did you learn from the session. And if there's anything more you would want me to touch upon, I would love to get another such opportunity through Rashish, of course. I really want to take a minute to say that I feel awesome to be a part of the community that believes in learning and growing and cutting the noise that's there outside to just stay focused and keep growing. Thank you so much for making me a part of this tribe. It's an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Yukti. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be stopping the meeting now. Thanks, Yukti, for your time once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
See you. Please stay safe. See you. Bye.
Thank you.